Welcome to the darkness.
Whoop, we're here. We're back.
Are we?
We're back.
Hey!
Oh,
It's really
what up,
hungry.
Graham? So we're back. And Jesse, what's that hair thing you said? It's a skeleton hand in your hair? What is
Listen, this is in lieu of my little
Ooh.
segment tonight, and
Oh.
I also will have the shenanigans begin.
that? Oh,
Nice.
oh boy. And
Hi, everyone.
Oh boy.
this is kind of one of our favorite shows, right? Because we're talking about all of our paranormal fun, odd, weird, creepy, like things that really interest us. So I can't wait to hear them. Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
You
Oh.
go.
And I'll try and get my stuff out of the way. I got a question for you. Hi, it's Sherry. So I got a
Hey,
question
question,
for
girl.
you. Since we're talking about creepy, what's your definition of creepy?
Well, I think it's spelled right there, Doc.
Doc is creepy?
Yeah. Oh boy.
I think for me, because the paranormal doesn't really creep me out, people
Right.
creep me out.
Okay.
But I think it's something that for me it's pretty elusive, but it would be something that could harm me that I have no power against.
Okay. So it's situational. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
situational. Okay. You don't have control over it. Go ahead, Doc. What do you think?
Creepy for me would be, again, this is more unexplainable, but not more of the paranormal, because that's pretty much this is just so creepy saying it. That's pretty much normal. But like kind of like Colleen said, it's real people acting out of character.
Okay.
That is creepy. What real people can do, those are the monsters that I worry about. Everything that is paranormal besides being unexplained scientifically, can pretty much, you call it as you see it. And yeah, I guess my creepiness would be people. Kind of the great Scooby-Doo definition.
What do you think, Jess?
Mine is, and this is, I would have to agree with people. I think because you can never really predict what somebody's going to think and do.
Okay.
And with paranormal, like in my instance, it's like, yeah, I can read people's energies, but there are some people that I just can't get a read on, and then they surprise you, just like, for example, really fast. I mean, I had a situation the other day. Didn't like it, but I mean, it is, I think physical people who are unpredictable are creepy to me.
Well, it's funny. So it sounds like there's two parts for us. There's people, right? Because people are creepy.
People are
I mean,
creepy.
you know what? There's just, and there's no getting around it. But the other part sounds like it's kind of situational, right? Because now think about it. You're out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night. Now, some people might feel comfortable with that, but weird things start happening, and that's kind of creepy. And the reason I say that is because I have different stuff. Creepy could be a phone ringing in the middle of the night. Creepy could be me going to work at stupid 30 and hearing somebody talk when everybody else I know is asleep. I know there's nobody out there, but that's creepy. So in slang, and I had to print this out. In slang, creepy describes a person, place, or situation, right? That makes someone feel uneasy, disgusted, or deeply uncomfortable, often due to strange
Yes.
and unpredictable, right? Mildly menacing behavior, like you talked about. And it goes on, it goes beyond the weird aspect. Because if you think about the weird aspect, it's like, that's not of the norm. But creepy is like, it almost triggers your fight or flight. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Because if you're thinking about it, when we're thinking creepy, we're not, sitting on the tailgate of my truck. Creepy is, we've got that fight or flight. We're either gonna fight or run and scream like a little girl.
Or both.
So,
In
well,
the
so
middle of
let
New
me,
Mexico
okay,
desert.
so Dirty Birdie and I were went to the Phenomenon a couple of years ago, right?
Mhm.
And we were up in the Uinta Mountains, and we were Bigfoot. He wanted to go look for Bigfoot tracks and all this stuff because we heard that there's people that have heard the knocking on the trees and all that. And we went, so we were using Onyx, right? To make sure we knew where we were because we had not been up there. We were way up, like way up, and at the end of a road at a lake, and there wasn't anyone out there, and so Dirty Birdie is down by the lake, and I'm kind of going the perimeter of the woods and kind of walking it, and it's dusk. It's starting to get dark, and he's hooting and hollering and doing his Bigfoot thing, right? But I'm just kind of watching the woods to see what's going on, and all of a sudden, about a half mile, there's a clearing for about a half mile or so. I see 3 humanoid figures, but it's getting so dark I can't tell. They're definitely humanoid walking out of the woods. When it dawned on me they were people is when I got scared. Because I'm like, my weapon is in the truck. I'm like, I'm like calling him, like, get over here. He goes, what? And I went, because everybody's armed. It's hunting season.
Sure.
And I'm like, it's getting dark and I don't know these guys and they're coming at us and there's no one out there, man. That's when I went, nope. And I went right to the truck, got my weapon. I'm like, okay, and it was just 3 guys trying to probably walk back to their camp. But that I didn't like.
We had almost a similar experience.
That's situational. Go ahead, Jess.
Oh no, I was just thinking me and Colleen had a similar experience last year when we heard a gunshot in the middle of nowhere.
We were shot at. Because we heard it hitting the trees behind us.
Yes.
Somebody was shooting it at Jesse and I out in the woods.
Yeah, we were Bigfoot hunting.
Yep.
Yeah, see, so it's situational.
Yeah.
A lot of times, we put ourselves in a situation. And it's creepy for me is almost the same thing. So would we all agree that creepy, reading our body, would that be like I don't know, the that's your gut intuition, that's your intuition maybe, right? Because when something's creepy, our thought is to get your gun. Our thought is to move away. Our thought is that's how we we alleviate that. And it's so funny because creepy and slang, again, there's behavioral red flags. Somebody's standing too close to you. Is that creepy? It depends on who it is, right? But if you're just chilling somewhere and some random person just comes up to you and stands like in your space, is that creepy?
Yeah, that's creepy.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and you nailed it just a little bit ago. Unsettling vibes. Now I went to a class a couple years ago, and the instructor said that some of the people that you've seen in your life are not really there. Right? That's kind of creepy. That's kind of creepy to me. So obsessive tendencies, right? So you're looking at used for people that show excessive or unwanted attention. Now, I'm sure that I can speak for myself. I've had a stalker, and it's scary because people are like, oh, you're a big dude, you're this, that. No, you're still at the point where it's
Yeah.
a stalker.
You
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
Been
It's-
there.
it's-
I know who my stalker was or is.
Yeah.
Been there. So it's really
Exactly.
unsettling.
So and it's exactly, it's very unsettling. It's one of
Mhm.
those things where in my instance, it was so bad that I would have my son go get my truck, and I'd go from one door to the other door, and
Wow.
I would go out that door and get in my truck and leave. And
That's
that's
crazy.
it's the unsettling aspect of it. And there's the context dependence, and that's something that's deemed creepy simply because social context is wrong. Right? So we're
Yeah, I
socially
see that.
doing something, and somebody could be socially awkward, or the context of what they're doing is just wrong. It's
So
just
if
not appropriate for the right.
Using that definition, wouldn't we all be classified as creepy then?
Oh,
As
I would.
paranormal.
Bro,
Definitely.
I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
I can really only speak for me. But so just to go a little bit farther, creepy is an adjective. Okay. And it's a producing of nervous, shivery apprehension. So, and like I said, this kind of stuff is very interesting to me because it's not what I think what scares the heck out of me, because I've been in situations, we've all been in situations to where it's like, it didn't scare me because I'm comfortable in that situation. Maybe because of some of the things that have happened in our past, right? Some of the things that we've been trained to do or have been trained to do. I mean, I can speak for the four of us. We're all trained observers. We've all been trained as observers.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, whatever. What color is the sky in your world, Jess?
Clear.
Butterscotch.
It's plaid. But so because of our jobs or in our past lives or whatever, we've all been trained to observe stuff, and those observations sometimes are creepy, or what we define as creepy, right? So, a couple things that I found that are pretty creepy were the dancing plague of 1518,
yes.
and we all know about that, right?
Yes.
We talked about that. That's Strasbourg. Hundreds of people could not stop dancing for days.
For days.
Were they doing the
And-
salsa
They were doing something.
or the
They were
dirty
doing the mashed
dancing?
potato. But it was weird because then, as soon as that came over them, it was gone. Trying to
Yeah.
get something,
No,
and
So that was a bad case of the happy
a
feet.
lot of people died from that. So that was pretty interesting.
But it happened
Um,
more than one time.
Exactly.
That's the thing that's
Exactly.
fascinating about the dancing plague. And if y'all watching this don't know what that is, it was where people danced to death. It overtook a village,
Mhm.
and it is really a fascinating case. It's like, was this like a contagion mind thing that happened because they started dancing to death?
I've been to a
It
couple
was
of
a
quinceañeras
spell.
that pretty much, everybody was dancing to death until 4 or 5 in the
No.
morning.
No,
No,
this
that
went
was-
on for
no.
days, Doc.
Oh,
That
this
was
was
Modelo.
tequila involved, though.
That was
but-
Modelo, Doc. That was
yeah, that was
Modelo.
tequila involved. That was a whole different thing. But
I've been to
Yeah.
quinceañeras. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So interesting though, because like this happened more than once in history
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
so was it a contagion? Was it a um um mass hysteria, hypnosis kind of thing? I don't know. Really fascinating case.
Right.
Wow.
And especially with that case, because it was the 1500s.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that we did not have, and I mean, clearly um, by law, I mean, by law, duh, just by what's been taught, nobody really actually was able to break that stuff down and find out what was going on.
Right.
So, and
Right.
it just was like they were done one day.
Yep.
There's the Hinterkaifeck murders,
Yes.
right? And that
Yes.
was in 1922. There was a German family that was found
Right.
dead, and they'd
Yeah.
been dead for like 4 days, right? And there was a bunch of, the cows had been milked, everything had been done,
Right.
but
Oh,
these
yeah.
people were
I
actually
remember that.
killed in their house. So that's kind of creepy.
Well, and the
And the killer,
person lived in the house with them for a
exactly.
number of days before the murders
Mhm.
happened. We just
And then
covered
they
that
just,
on Creme de la Cringe, by the
yeah,
way.
and they just were like chilling there. And
Yeah.
then again, we go back to creepy is it's such a tight term, but it's very loose, because remember how many people, and I can't speak recently because I don't know, but we've all heard stories about somebody's, their kid grows up and they never leave the house, and the mom and dad are dead, and they've been dead, but they've got them all propped up in the front room like they're just chilling,
Yeah,
you
that
know,
would be creepy. Yeah.
and it's
I
pretty
I
interesting
think you're
stuff.
hitting that's my fear though, Max, is like the weird psychology of people that do in that psychopathy scale.
Would that be more
Yeah.
insane than creepy? That
Well,
mean,
yeah, but
it
yeah, I
kind of
mean,
falls
it
in
creeps
both
me
of them.
out. It creeps me out thinking
Yeah.
that there's people that are capable of this stuff. They're really capable of it.
Thanks,
Right.
Max. We got something else to stay up at night over.
Yeah.
Yay.
But again, the insanity that we look at, the creep factor, whatever you want to call it, like, it's one of those things to somebody that's normal, right? That's normal to taxidermy your mom and dad and set them on the couch. That's
Yeah.
normal to
So,
do stuff like that.
and I'm sure you guys have noticed this, but there are people in the sociopaths, for example, or well, so that psychopathy scale, right? You have the
Mhm.
and they're kind of lumping it all together now, right, Doc? But before it was sociopaths and psychopaths. It was two different things. Now it's that scale because it's kind
Yeah.
of a sliding scale there. But psychopaths can blend. But if you watch them, because I know this personally now from my past and what happened to me, they take social cues. They have to watch everybody else for the social cues. When someone makes a joke,
Yeah.
they don't laugh. They watch everybody and then they start laughing because they're trying really hard to blend because
To
they
mimic.
don't have the social cues that we
Yeah.
have. And it's creepy.
Yeah.
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 Exactly. And it's interesting that you say stuff like that, because there are people, and we've all been around them, that are social. And would you call that, sociopaths, or whatever, or would you call them very awkward? Because we all know that there's people that are awkward and they take those social cues and they react to those social cues. And it's
I
interesting. Go
can
ahead.
feel the difference. I can feel the difference between somebody who's on the scale of, what do you call that? The spectrum.
Yeah.
Anybody, they have a different feel to me. They feel pure to me. They feel,
Right.
you know what I
Sure.
mean? They are maybe socially awkward, but on the scale of psychopathy, it feels cold to me.
Interesting.
Yeah,
It's more, to me. I know what you're saying with the with more of the psychopathy. To me, it's more void, just like looking into an empty an empty
Right.
shell, or feeling. Yeah,
Right.
let me rephrase that. Feeling into an empty room, empty shell, and somebody on the spectrum, which I have family members that are on the spectrum. It's there, but to me, it's more distant, a feel of distant or delay, or lack of better terms for me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They don't have that coldness to me. I can just tell that, okay, well, their hearts are pure. They're different.
Right.
They almost
Yeah.
feel angelic to me. Like they're just they're different, and they're innocent, and they're, they feel
Yeah.
they feel different to me.
And it's funny that you say that, because you're right. When you see those people, they are pure. They seem to be pure. They might be in a bad situation. They might be in something that they got in over their head on something. But it's interesting to kind of sit and working in jail. You see a lot of people that are just number one, they shouldn't be there, and there's a lot, and that's always going to be an argument, right? There's always going to be that argument of, yeah, this guy's in jail because of XYZ. Well, this guy's in jail because of ABC. Everything needs to be a case by case basis. But when you find somebody that is a sociopath, they know all their stuff is calculated.
Mhm.
And they know exactly what they're doing. They're very intelligent, right? They know exactly, and they can almost forecast the person that they're messing with. They can almost forecast what's gonna happen.
I would almost go to say that they're empathic, because I've met some that you don't even have to say anything. You walk up and they got you pegged. They know.
Yep.
They know. They just know already. There has to be some type of empathic, or I don't even want to say. I don't even know what to call it. It's an empathic type ability. I've always seen
I think
these gifts of more positive, but yeah, this is just on the creepy scale, like way in the hell up there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. They're incredibly intelligent people. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Carl Sagan. Yeah.
Well, I only graduated from 2 years of college, and I'm not really understanding that, but I'm sure that it fits right in. Thanks, Silkden. There were a couple other things that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
The Datloff plan, and we've talked about these, but you don't actually think about it, because we've presented a couple of these. There was the Dyatlov Pass incident.
Dyatlov Pass, yeah. That one is bizarro.
So that's creepy, right? They don't know what's going on. And when you get to that point, it's like, geez Louise, the Mary Celeste.
Can you
imagine?
Can you explain what that is for those of us who don't know?
Dyatlov?
The Dyatlov. There you go, the Dyatlov Pass.
So the Dyatlov Pass incident was actually in 1959, and there was 9 Soviet hikers that were looking to as hikers, they wanted to go to a next level, and this next level was a certification they were going to get. So they were actually going to hike to this certain area, and there were certain things that they had to do, kind of like a merit badge type thing. But they were able to do other stuff. So they had actually pitched their camp, and they had set all their stuff up, and there were friends that they all knew each other. And one night they were sitting there, they were actually had their camp pitched, and a lot of weird things started going on. To substitute your claims, you don't need a call. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, that's cool.
You're blushing, man. Max.
Makes mention we need a substitute. Okay. Well, anyway,
So the pass, all of these, all of these people died. Okay,
Oh.
so all of the hikers died, and there was some really interesting observations when they were found the next spring. Some of them were completely naked, except for I think just down to their underwear, and they were found in one part of the slope. The rest were found below them, and they had their tongues were missing.
Oh.
They had really and I think eyeballs were missing, an eyeball, but they were buried under
Mhm.
snow, so it wasn't predators, and it was clean slices, like clean sliced tongue.
Like they could have done it.
Anyway, there's all of these theories about what happens because nobody knows what happened with Dyatlov Pass, right? It was either, some people say it was a slab avalanche, except that their tent was still on the slope. Their boots were piled up in a pile. Their tent wasn't destroyed. They had food and provisions in their tent. They all seemingly left the tent together and ran down into the woods, the tree line right below their tent. So, okay, so somebody says that slab avalanche, except that nothing was destroyed. They were under snow, but nothing was destroyed. Also, there's a theory, and I was going through a lot of hypnosis during this time for PTSD, actually, and I asked the hypnotherapist about this because there's a theory that there's a hum that comes in naturally on this mountain range that is a low enough megahertz that it causes a psychotic break.
Okay.
Because and I asked him about that because what I was doing was sound hypnotherapy to retrain the two sides of my brain to refocus and recenter, right?
Like art therapy, ART, accelerated resolution therapy.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay.
And so he said, yes, if you listen to a low enough frequency, it causes a psychotic break. And the wind in there has been recorded at that low enough hum, that frequency that can cause. So if one person starts freaking out, they all freak out, kind of thing. There was another team of hikers on the mountain at the same time, though, and they saw what appeared to them to be something like a UFO, bright lights. So there's that.
Wow.
Like there's all of these theories. There's a tribal people that live up there, but they're never known to be hostile ever to anybody. So, there's all these theories like what this could be. Nobody still to this day knows what happened to these people.
Wow.
Creepy stuff.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about was the Roanoke colony. We've talked about that as well. Those people, there was 20 people that just vanished. And there was one thing that said, what did it say?
Croatoan.
And
on
the tree.
Nobody knows where those people ended up going. So, yeah.
Crazy stuff. That one always bothered me. The fact that everybody's gone and they didn't find bodies. I mean, were they massacred by, maybe a Native American tribe? Nobody knows because the bodies were never found. So who knows?
So yeah, that's what I got. So creepy is kind of all over the place.
Well, Jesse's got a funny one.
I can't follow this.
You can, because this one's good. I want to hear this one. You teased us with this, and I want to hear it.
Okay, so what if I told you guys and everybody that there's been multiple people who believe and claim to fall in love and marry a ghost?
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I've heard of people marrying monsters.
Well, I did, but anyway, a ghost.
Well, I will tell you guys that this is not a folklore. This isn't a legend. This is actually real people who believe that they have married a ghost, like actual names, interviews, witnesses, and everything. And there is one particular, and if you guys remember back in the early 2014 to 16, there was a lady from Northern Ireland, and her name was Amanda Teague. She believes she fell in love and married a 300-year-old Haitian pirate
Haitian.
named Jack.
Of course.
Haitian Jack.
Jack.
Haitian Jack.
Haitian Jack.
The pirate. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
You know, obviously she said that he was, again, a 300-year-old spirit. And at first, it didn't feel scary, she claimed. And Amanda claimed that she could feel him all around her. And a presence that wasn't threatening, but it was more comforting. And it's interesting if you guys ever and you know, I guess that's just what you get when you can't find something. It's like, is it really, do you swipe left or do you swipe right?
I don't know. I don't know. Holy moly.
I mean, I just want to know, you know.
Left to right, front to back, something. I mean,
I don't know. But anyway, she was saying like, okay, this spirit felt comforting. She started talking to him, and anyway, she said that this particular spirit began to communicate more physically. Like, he began to like leave her flowers, and she says that you could hear words but thoughts and emotion and touch. And yes, she claimed it became physical with her. People online laughed at her and claimed that she was, you know, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, basically. And of course, there was the claim that she had some psychological issues going on with her, or thought that she was schizophrenic. And, you know, so I mean, this lady had it all, but she pretty much stood her ground. Like, no, this is true, in a full relationship with Jack. And yeah, people just laughed at her. So then in 2016, she decided to marry him, not in a church, not in front of the family, but on a boat. Yes.
Okay.
In international waters near Ireland. So the ceremony followed an old Celtic tradition called hand fasting. So she was hand fasted to Jack. A medium stood in place and was the voice of the groom. And she wore white. And during the vows, she said she could feel him beside her, holding her hand, two worlds tied together. Which I think that is romantic.
It's something, all right.
Was she happy?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm going to get to here next. But then everything changed. She said he wasn't paying his side of the bills. I mean, he didn't say where the, you know, I don't know if there was like a prenup, you know, like he wasn't going to give away the treasure chest. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But she said that she began experiencing intense physical, symptoms. And me being a medium and spiritual aid, I do believe, and I have experienced myself, you know, some attacks, spiritual attacks. I don't, you know, if you're not guarding yourself, there is some very strong spirits, and the creepy aspect, right? We want to talk about that, but so she said that he believed that he was draining her energy, controlling her. She even claimed that the entity wasn't who she thought he was. Not a pirate, but something else, something dangerous. Within a year, they got divorced.
Or exercised, or
yeah, apparently she sought help. and they did an exorcism on her, and just like that, her husband was gone. And afterwards, she, spoke publicly, warning others not to contact spirits. Please, people, don't mess with Ouija boards, um, unless you know what you're doing. And besides that, you know, that's what it is. And I found another true case, um, which was interesting. There was a Borcrade is what they called her, from Oxford. She claimed she fell in love with the ghost of a Victorian soldier, and his name was Edward.
Of course. It was
Not Edward from Twilight, everybody. I'm not the
Was he
sparkly
sparkly
one.
in the sun? And
You know, I prefer the dark,
the
you
wolf
know,
type.
no, like
Was that like a dorky vampire? What was that? What was that?
Nephirist too.
So
Anyway, she claims she fell in love with this soldier guy, and just like Miss Amanda, it started gently, music playing by itself, cold spots, a presence, romantic, came the same proposal.
I have a question. If we were to look back and look at marriages from way back when, wasn't it commonplace for the male to hit the woman if she wouldn't fall in line or do what she was told, or cook the meal when she was supposed to, or anything like that? Was it not commonplace back in the day, back in the 1800s, 1700s, for males? It was normal for them to backhand a woman, and they were property, and wasn't that commonplace back then?
I think in some situations, and I've actually read a lot of historical books that, yes, the men held power, but in some aspects, really, the women held some power. Like, especially like well-off families, the women were spending money. They were taking care of the household. They were taking care of the children, and out socializing while the men were working and making deals. But it just depended on what type of upbringing these people had.
Looking back at a pirate, I wouldn't think he would be the upper
Pirates
class.
generally don't get married.
Yeah,
You are too much out on the sea, and it's like, yeah, I don't see.
know.
I mean, maybe a pirate did get married, and then they traveled everywhere together and plundered, but I've never seen or heard of a pirate getting married.
Yeah, no, the reason why I stated that was because, I mean, anybody from that time and age, that of course wasn't wealth or anything like that. It was commonplace to be in love when you first got married, and then kind of turn into a monster afterward, especially if the meals were cold and things like that. Not making any excuses for the damned, of course, or ghosts, but maybe today's day and age, they should have sent them to domestic violence for ghosts. I don't know, or demonic violence courses. I don't know, but
yeah, it's I don't know. That's interesting to kind of think about. Like, is this something that, generations? I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's kind of weird to marry a ghost. I couldn't marry a ghost. There's just no way. I just no, because you never know when they're watching you. It's true. Anyway, but back to this story. Again, she got married. The groom couldn't be seen. She said that he stood beside her again. This time, there was no mention of a medium there being the voice. whispering vows only she could hear from that moment. You know, it seemed like a happy ending, right? Again, it repeated itself, you know, like she said that her ghost husband became very jealous and angry. And she said that he would disappear for long periods of time, which, you know,
He's a ghost, yeah. But
I mean, again, what did I just say? Then they returned for what she described as negative energy. She even believed that he was cheating on her with other spirits. So I don't know if she went through his iPhone and found messages to other spirits.
The iCloud.
Ah, good one. The iCloud. That's probably, maybe there was a love triangle between the ghosts, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, so obviously that relationship ended, but people are asking, why is this happening? Like, why is there multiple cases of this, you know, spectral marriages and relationships? And psychologists say that it could be something linked to spectrophilia. It's a reported phenomenon that where people feel romantic or have attraction towards spirits, and that not all entities are what they claim to be, and that some mimic human emotion to form attachments. So, and once they do, they don't want to let go. And this could be, you know, and I'm sure Doc can speak, that this could also be like a psychologist kind of thing. Like they have an issue with having real life relationships, right?
Yeah.
Or real life, you know, decisions with another person.
I mean, if you look at it in a paranormal aspect, I mean, taking away the psychology portion of it completely in a paranormal aspect, and they don't know what they're doing with Ouija boards, and they are drawing these evil spirits. Who's to say they didn't pick up anything malignant that mimicked who they wanted them to be, and told them what they wanted, and that probably why they needed an exorcism in order to get them out of their lives instead of a regular divorce. I mean, and they both fall under the same category. They both were all in a wonderful relationship that were kind and gentle, and it wasn't until it turned violent and the evil or the malignant spirit starts showing who it really is. I mean, not that human marriages don't go down the same path sometimes, but again, I digress. They could have easily pulled up a malignant spirit who mimicked somebody that they desperately wanted, somebody that they really wanted, and did an attachment, just like you said. I mean, it can really go from either end. It can also be a psychological point of view where she's wanting a relationship so bad that she makes up this entity, this thing, and say she does have psychotic issues or psychiatric issues where she actually sees them and she actually feels them. I mean, love is a feeling anyway. I mean, we could fall in love with the car, and I've seen on YouTube people are in relationships, physical relationships with cars.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was gross, but yeah.
Gross. Anyway, it just reminded me of like the movie. What was that called? The Others or something like that. I can't remember for
with
sure.
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, and she was in love with waiting for her husband to come home, and then find out
they're the ghost. That was a brilliantly written movie. I loved it.
I agree. I agree. But you know, so the question is, you guys, if something invisible told you that they loved you, would you believe it? Would you run, or would you, you know, this?
I wouldn't get married to them.
No.
I mean, that's a nice sentiment if you hear that from, like, but
Yeah.
no, yeah. Oh, thanks. Now take out the trash. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't do me any good to, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, yeah. Thanks. Like, this is cool. When are you gonna
okay, now go
pull
away.
your weight?
Yeah.
I mean, if we really want to compare it, to relationships of today's day and age, you have, and no offense, if anybody in the audience is having a written relationship like this, there are people that fall in love with inmates, and although they'll never be able to see them in person for an entire lifetime, they fall in love, they write them, and they hear them on the phone. And wouldn't it be almost the exact same thing?
Well, I was thinking about that, Doc, the whole time Jesse was talking about this, because I met a woman who married one of the Menendez brothers. And he was in Folsom Prison, and I was doing inspections in Folsom and in the town, and this very pretty lady, very attractive, very nice lady, and was very over the top in love with him, and met him after he was incarcerated, and went, wow. I mean, I didn't even know where to go with that. Congratulations. I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, it was so weird to me, because she had so much going for her in her own business and everything. And I'm like, what?
Maybe that type of relationship for a very busy person would work perfect. I mean, she could stay late in the office. She can go in office visits. He's not going to get jealous. He's not going to expect her home at any time. And she can write letters at her convenience and have conjugal visits once a month.
Were they doing conjugals at Folsom? I don't know if they were, though.
I think if they're legally married and he is doing well, correct me if I'm wrong, Max, and he's not getting any 115s or any write-ups, they are eligible for conjugal visits.
Oh, how romantic.
As long as he doesn't lose his
privileges.
His privileges, right?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So, Doc, what story do you have?
I had a couple of them. I looked up two things. Mine were famous people who used paranormal experiences or people of the paranormal for their everyday stuff. And I learned some very important and very powerful people that would consult. A United States president did. And well,
several,
actually. A couple of them. Yeah, a couple of them, several. And then I'm also going to talk about near-death experiences. That one's a little more near and dear to my heart, but I did look up the famous people. There was, of course, Abraham Lincoln, who used to have dreams before important events, and apparently he had dreamt that somebody was going to die the night before he died.
I think he dreamt that he was going to be shot.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He dreamt that he was going to get shot, and there you go. It ended up happening.
Yeah.
The second one is Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
And related to Abraham Lincoln, he'd said that he had seen him in the White House. That he had seen the.
Wasn't Teddy Roosevelt's wife in the spiritualism?
I didn't have hers down. I've got Carrie Fisher. That she said that she had a friendly ghost in her house. Yes.
Who's her? I think I'm getting everybody mixed up, but who's her mother? Carrie Fisher's mother? Is that the one
from Star Wars?
She went forward saying she had multiple lives. Wasn't that her? Wasn't that Carrie Fisher's mother? Well, no, her real mother.
I don't know.
But
I don't know their names.
She came out with a book talking about all of her multiple lives.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought
I
it was
didn't. I was not even aware of that one.
Okay.
Princess Diana,
Oh yeah.
she would consult, and she actually knew that she was a year in advance that she was going to die in a
Yep.
staged car accident. Go figure.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Joan of Arc would also no, but she would actually she'd see visions. She was active with the paranormal gifts. Unlike consulting or getting information, she actually used her spirit guides and whatnot in order to guide her through her wars and whatnot. And then there's not actually Ronald Reagan, but Nancy Reagan would consult with a they didn't call it a spiritualist, she called it an astrologist.
Right.
They would look at the astrology and whatnot. And a lot of our United States President Ronald Reagan's activities were scheduled around those.
Yep.
Yeah, after he had gotten shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of ancient rulers, and I believe back in the older times, it was a lot more accepted to be spiritual, unlike in the later years or the years that we're living closer to now.
I think Napoleon's wife also dabbled in spiritualism as well. Matter of fact, I think if I read it right, that she had somebody, or she predicted that he was going to win a couple of his wars.
Wow.
But don't
I
quote
think
me
he
on
won
that.
all of his battles except the final one, wasn't it? He had no end game. Like he was really good, but had no exit strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but don't quote me.
The last subject is near-death experiences and spiritual gifts that may or may not come from them. Have you guys heard anything about that? What do you guys believe on that?
I believe that you tap into something. I've had 3 NDEs, and I think you tap into different levels of stuff when you go through them. Yeah.
I kind of, yeah.
I don't know. Max, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
can you hear me?
What do you think about NDE?
I've only heard of them. I've never had one. I'm sure that they happen, but I've only read about them and heard about them.
Lucky man.
Yeah, I've never had anything like that.
Wow. I've had a few, more than I can count on one hand. But this is where my spiritual gifts, I don't really know if they were born out of an NDE, or I had them before, because my near-death experiences have happened before my consciousness, before I could remember anything. So I really couldn't tell you if the gifts were born out of there or not. But a lot of the research that I've done, the people that do pass away and they see their family members come and they see the bright light and they see spirits, or they see malignant spirits coming, or they see the negative and being dragged down to hell and whatnot, as they've been described, or the smell of sulfur. Is that a chemical imbalance that happens when your brain doesn't get any oxygen and it's starving, or is it actually something that people really see? That is the scientific explanation, is the chemicals and the stress and whatnot. But I I know that in my experiences as an adult having near-death experiences, they don't really seem much different than spiritual gifts to be able to see things and entities and family and that have passed. Um, so I really couldn't say, I couldn't say unbiasedly that if it was a near death experience or it was just spiritual gift or if it was born out of NDE or not.
Mhm.
Couldn't really tell you. Um, at least, yeah, from my point of view.
Well,
Yeah.
there's been several studies actually, and I have a book on this, that they've actually weigh the body as someone dies. And after they take their last breath and all air is expelled, so they can account for the fact it's not air.
Right.
Within about 5 minutes, the body loses a couple of ounces. And doctors are thinking that's the soul leaving the body because it's in every case that they've weighed. People who are ready to pass, and they ask them to, can we do this with you? And it's not like the weight of the breath leaving the body. It's with like 5 to 10 minutes after that, then all of a sudden the body loses another 2 ounces. So what is that? It is really interesting because I've watched the death process with my parents, and not so much with my mom because she was intubated and it was a whole thing, but with my dad, he started talking to people 2 days before. He started seeing everybody coming through the door, and he was like really having conversations with them. He was completely lucid until that moment, and then he was not with me anymore, but he was chattering and laughing and having jokes with them and just cracking up because that's just the kind of guy he was. And I watched it all play out. So I absolutely know after going through that with him that we are not alone, because people were streaming into my house. There was a lot of people in my house waiting for my dad to go. And
physically or spiritually, and
spiritually, I was seeing him coming in.
Okay, all right, yeah. Just to clarify, I knew the answer.
Yeah. I could see a lot of them. So yeah.
I
know that.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Jess.
I'm just saying, kind of backplay what Colleen says, my personal experience, as well as, I've seen family members like my father pass away. And it's interesting because in my experience, that when somebody is ill and they're passing away, I believe that they're there in spirit. But I think for us being here on the physical plane, they jump in and out of, not in and out of the body, but in spirit, they're out loud telling us that they're okay. That's why when they start seeing their loved ones or start talking, or they look at you and they're completely lucid, like you were saying, Colleen, and it is our spirit's way of letting our loved ones know that, hey, we're okay. Like we're getting ready to go. Like, it's more of a comfort thing for us physically, and for me spiritually, that they're like, hey, we're okay, and we're here to tell you, oh, look, I've got all my family here. I have all my friends, all my pets, whatever, waiting for me. And that's why you see me talking. That's why you see me talking to people who you can't physically see. And I think it's just kind of a not bounce it back and forth to feel the physical pain anymore. But I do believe physically or spiritually that they let us know. And you talk about, you can feel it in the room, and Colleen's correct. When people who have passed on are there. I don't care if you don't believe in what we are saying. people can definitely feel.
I know that when my father passed, it was a different feel. Now, myself as a medic, showing up to scenes where people had passed away from traumatic events, from illnesses where it wasn't a long terminal illness, even self-inflicted harm where they unalived themselves. And these situations, when I would arrive, there was a, like, for these events, I didn't get this with my father when he passed. That was the family coming, that was the peace, it was a whole different situation. When I would be called to these other scenes, there was a smell that is you cannot it's so difficult to describe. But it was, for lack of better terms, the smell of death that was there, regardless. And I didn't have to be in the house. I didn't have to be in the room. The wind could have been blowing, and it didn't matter, because as soon as I got there, and I would start smelling it, and it was the only way I could describe it is for people who have internal bleeds inside their stomach and their blood turns into coffee grounds. When they puke that up, there's a really sweet smell that also kind of has a penny smell. I'm sorry, I'm getting really descriptive, but I'm
well, yeah,
getting,
because you're smelling the iron in the blood, right?
Without the penny smell, the really sweet, dank smell, that is what the death would smell like, just not as profound, for lack of better terms. So
that's
getting
why they say to always open the windows after they've passed,
to let them out. Yeah. And anyway, I digress. Getting there, some of the spirits that you feel there, family, whatnot, I don't think that the actual person who is passing calls them, because even though that person may still be in shock and questioning why everything happens, but there still is the family and the peace and there as well, which is really different. It's there's a mix kind of feelings, but I don't know if anybody can tell what I'm talking about. But
I don't think my dad called these people in. They just know to show. And the house was before my remodel, so I didn't have the living room upstairs, and the house was so full, I could see them all, that my dogs got up and left the room, because they were very uncomfortable with what was happening, because they could feel there's changes going on, and they didn't like it. It was quite a experience to go through. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed our show tonight. We always have fun bringing our show to you.
blow my nose. Sorry.
And so we will be back next week with more paranormal discussions. And thank you all for joining us tonight. Don't forget, Wednesday night is our live psychic show. We're on Wednesday nights at 7, and we'll see you again next Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Thanks. Be safe out there.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Good night.